going on, lovely people? Today we're going to take a look at SmallRig's dual handheld video kit for the iPhone 17 Pro Max,
the Megatron edition.
Now in this video, I will show you what's different compared to the original SmallRig cage and how you can use this setup to get stable handheld shots without using a gimbal. Now, big thanks to SmallRig for sponsoring this video. That said, let's get right into it. So the kit comes in a nicely designed box. Inside, you get the Megatron edition cage, 2 phone cases, one with a closed back and one with an open back, 2 handles with one of them including a Bluetooth shutter, a 17mm backplate, a T-mount backplate, and a small carrying bag. This edition is inspired by the Transformer Megatron theme. It's not this guy, this is Optimus, and it mixes a practical design with a fun look. The metallic gray finish with a purple accent looks great. You can also spot the Megatron symbol on the cage up here. The cage works very similar to SmallRig's original cage, but there is one big difference. This version can actually transform. You can take it apart into smaller sections, which makes it much easier to pack and carry. What I really like is that you do not need any tools to put it back together. You just line up the numbered parts and twist them into place. On top, there is a knob that locks everything in securely. Even if I try to pull it apart, it feels very solid, nothing moves or rattles, and it feels just as stable as a one-piece cage. Now, the setup process is the same as with the original cage. I just drop the phone into the SmallRig case, slide it into the cage, and press the button to lock it into place. You get multiple 1/4 screw holes for accessories, 2 cold shoe mounts, and SmallRig's Hawk Lock quick release system for quick one-step mounting with the handle. You can also use the handle to shoot vertically, horizontally, or use it as a top handle. You can also rotate the handle 360 degree. Now you can also detach the shutter and trigger recording from up to 10 meters, which is really handy. The case is also MagSafe compatible, so you can attach accessories like the MagSafe M3 phone LED light from SmallRig. Now the backplates snap on easily, just line them up and push them into place. With these backplates, you can use SmallRig's lenses as well as third-party lenses, which makes this a very cost-effective setup. SmallRig lenses feature a 67mm internal thread, so you can screw on filters directly. You can also use an adapter to mount SmallRig's magnetic VND filter. If you do not want to use a conversion lens, there is a separate filter adapter you can buy. And this lets you use SmallRig's magnetic VND filter to achieve a natural motion blur in your shot. What I like most about SmallRig's cages in general is the flexibility. If I want to keep things minimal, I can just use the case with a filter. When I need to build it out more, I slide it into the cage and turn it into a more serious handheld rig. So with that covered, let's now get into the camera settings. Before I show you the creative shots you can create using this cage, let me first walk you through the camera settings. And for that, we will be using the Blackmagic camera app. In the record settings, I set the codec to HEVC, the resolution is set to 4K, and the color space to Apple Log 2. This allows for more flexibility when color grading, and it also removes a lot of that digital sharpening. Then in the camera settings, be sure to enable lock white balance on record so that once we start recording, it will lock the white balance. The shutter measurement I set to angle. For the frame rate, I will be filming in 25 frames per second for normal speed, and if I need slow motion, I switch to 50 frames per second. The shutter I set to 180. This way we get that natural motion blur in our shot. As for the ISO, I set it to the lowest number, which is 54 when using the 24mm lens. The white balance I set to auto, and once I press record, it will lock it at that value since we enabled lock white balance on record. Then as for the stabilization, I set it to extreme. And for your frame guides, I recommend you enable the rule of thirds as well as leveling so that your shots look straight. Now in the camera viewer, since we're shooting in Apple Log, your image might look flat. So in order to have a normal looking view, head over to LUT and enable Rec 709 neutral. Now if you don't see it, head over to settings, go to LUTs, and in the LUT manager, enable Rec 709 neutral. This will convert it into a normal looking image so that you can better set your exposure. Now keep in mind that it does not bake in the footage, so you still have all the flexibility for color grading later in post. Now, since we're shooting at a 180-degree shutter, when I remove the VND filter, you can see that our image is blown out, even though we have our ISO set to the lowest number. So to compensate for the exposure, you will need to use a VND filter. It magnetically attaches to the filter adapter, and now I can twist the filter to adjust the exposure. Usually what I like to do is to look at the sky, twist the VND filter, and see where I get the most detail back. This would be way too overexposed, but if I twist it all the way here, this looks good. Now I'm also going to pair the Bluetooth shutter button. So in order to do that, I'm going to press hold until the green light starts blinking. Head over to Bluetooth. Below you can see SmallRig VR03. I'm going to tap on that and select pair. So when I now press the shutter button, you can see that will start and stop recording, which is pretty convenient. And because it's cold outside, I can actually also use my gloves to trigger recording. When it comes to handheld shots using a rig, in order to get smooth gimbal-like shots, you will have to work with your body. So what I like to do is have the cage close to my body. I sort of lock my shoulders in, I bend my knees and walk heel to toe. This is really important because the stabilization can't compensate up and down movements. Now it does take practice, but because we're using a cage, we also get these two handles, which makes it much easier to capture smooth handheld shots. So we have some sun peeking through the trees, and I want to capture that using the 48mm lens. This looks awesome, and I'm just gonna slide from left to right and have sort of the sun shine in and out. And the thing is, you don't always have to walk. You can also just move with your body, which I'm doing right now. So we're gonna do that. I'm gonna start over here. We're gonna record this in 25 frames per second and action. Beautiful. I want to grab a shot of me walking. I'm actually using spikes because the road is pretty icy. I could film this way, but because I can twist these handles, I'm gonna angle it so that I can shoot more comfortably. This looks good to me. I can adjust the exposure a bit, and you can see we have some nice motion blur going on. And we also have a little bit of sun over here, and go. Next, I want to capture a selfie shot of me. And what's great about this cage is that I can use it as a vlogging setup. So I can hold it like this, and I'm just going to simply walk and capture my reaction. Now, to make this shot even more dynamic, I'm actually going to switch over to 50 frames per second. And since I can't see myself, what I usually do to expose my shots correctly is I hold up my hand in front and I check the exposure. I could add a bit more light, and I'm actually going to do a parallax effect where I move the camera from left to right and turn my head from right to left. And I'm actually going to angle the camera a bit higher so it's not too obvious that I'm holding a camera. So this looks like a nice establishing shot. I'm going to create a crane shot where I lift the camera up. And for that, I'm going to use the 13mm lens and film this in 50 frames per second. This way I can slow it down later. I'm actually going to angle the handle. So I want to grab a shot of this tree, and I'm going to use the ultra wide angle lens, and I'm going to switch over to the top handle since it's easier to circle around the tree. Just going to see, this looks great. I'm going to film this in 50 frames per second. The other way might be easier, so let's do that. Nice. So now I'm going to capture a static shot, and I used a mini tripod, and since it has 1/4 screw holes, I can easily mount the cage on it. I'm simply going to capture myself walking towards the camera from far away. I'm using the 100mm lens. This way we get some nice compression, and I'm filming this in 25 frames per second. This looks really nice also with the light in the background, and I do have stabilization turned off, so let's start. Now, since I have the cage on a tripod, I'm gonna create another static shot. This time I'm gonna be a bit closer. I'm also gonna use foreground with these tree branches over here, and I'm simply gonna walk down this path. I'm gonna use the 24mm lens and film this in 25 frames per second. Now, it might look a little bit overexposed to the left, but that's fine because the sun is right over there. So let's start. So next I'm gonna grab a close-up shot of this tree, and I'm actually going to invert this cage so that the camera is closer to the leaf. I'm gonna disable lock current orientation. It will flip the interface as well. Now the next thing I'm gonna do is switch over to 50 frames per second, add more light. I'm gonna actually twist this handle. Yeah, this makes it definitely easier. So I'm going to tap hold until the focus is locked, and I'm going to start recording and pull back. Now you can also use the handle to place it on the ground like I'm doing right now, and I'm simply going to capture a shot of me walking from the side, and I'm going to make sure to focus on the road. I'm gonna film this in 25 frames per second, and you can see to make the shot more interesting, I've added foreground to it. Let's start. So to wrap things up, here's a behind the scenes look along with the final shot. Overall, the shooting experience has been great with this cage. It definitely makes a difference being able to take the cage apart, especially if you shoot on the go and rely on a portable setup. Now guys, if you want to learn more about the cage, I made a video on the original version, which you can check out somewhere over here. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.